Good morning, everybody. This is Kent Davis. Thank you so much for joining us. I am live here on the 37th floor of the F&F Tower. We've got Carlos Camaño with me. Carlos runs our Coronado office. Carlos, you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody.
Guys, Carlos is one of our veteran salesmen. He's been doing this for about 14 years. As you all know, I'm Kent Davis. Been in Panama for 11 years. I've been featured in the New York Times. I've been on House Hunters International. And I would say our company is one of the most respected out there. So very much look forward to having you guys here today, answering all your questions. We've been compiling a list over the last few weeks of questions, and the hope is that we're going to be answering all of them in the presentation, and of course we'll have a Q&A afterwards. I've got about 25 minutes today, and let's go ahead and get started. The plan is to go over Panama from a 10,000-foot view first, the basics, go into some of our favorite beach communities. Of course, we're going to talk about logistics and the idea of coming out here for a visit, what it would cost, everything from cost of living, property, moving with a family, and really just how to get started. So what I can say is this. In my 11 years, this is literally one of the best times ever to be looking at the beaches market. With a strong dollar, we've got some Canadians who have been selling, some Brazilians who have been selling, get some currency advantages. The idea, guys, is there are some places out there right now where you can buy at or below replacement cost. Now, again, that's looking for a deal, and they're out there. My point is there's never been a better time to be looking at Panama, especially out at the beaches. So let's get started. Panama, the capital city, has roughly 1.5 million people. Panama as a country has about 4 million people. And one of our biggest assets is the Panamanian people. Anyone that comes to visit is just blown away by how open they are to foreigners. Remember Panama's history back in 1903 when it became a country. Panama was Colombia before that. So from day one you had foreigners living here. The weather is fantastic, guys. No hurricanes, which is very important if you're considering places like, say, Belize or Mexico, or even Florida, where you do get hurricanes. Panama, because of its geographic location, has no hurricanes. We, on average, are anywhere from about 85 to 90, 92 degrees Fahrenheit, or figure 26 to 30 degrees Celsius. We get some hotter days, especially out at the beach and even in the city as well. But at the end of the day, you're so close to the equator that it's tropical. It's tropical year-round. We do have our rainy season, which is right now. As I'm looking out over the Panama City skyline, I'm seeing sunshine and clouds, which is pretty typical for this time of year. January, February, though, we might not get but 3 or 4 days out of the year, or out of those months of rain. So it's a really interesting climate, especially if you want to escape the snow. Let's talk a little bit about cost of living. We're going to get into that in much more detail in this presentation, specifically in these beach communities. But in general, some things are still quite cheap. You can go see a movie for $6. You can go take a taxi across town for $3. You can go eat at a local restaurant, a small sort of mom and pop, they call them fondas, you can get lunch for $4 to $6. However, things like groceries here during my 11 years have gotten quite a bit more expensive. So you might end up paying, say, $2.99 for boneless chicken breasts, $1.50 for a liter of milk. It's comparable now to the United States in terms of groceries. But again, there are some things that are quite a bit cheaper, including medical care, insurance, schools in some cases. We'll get into Panama, as a matter of fact, on the next slide, Panama for families. So the politics of Panama have been very stable since 1989. Now, the beautiful thing about Panama's history, or the thing that's really interesting to think about, is in 1989, which is basically less than 30 years ago, Panama City had tanks literally rolling on the street. Think about that, 30 years ago. And for you to see where this country is today will just blow your mind. The legend of the legacy of Noriega is long gone. It's a very politically stable climate. Again, very open to foreigners. very interesting place to do business. With such a small country and at the end of the day, a very diversified economy, there's a lot of opportunities for foreigners to bring businesses here, to enter into businesses that are already existing. And for those people who are more concerned about tax structuring, of course, you can live in Panama, generate your money overseas, maybe run an internet business, etc. And we'll get into internet speeds and costs later on in the presentation. But it's also a very interesting place to move and still do business, whether it's start a new business or jump right into the labor pool here, depending on your visa status, which we're going to talk about towards the end. But this presentation is about beaches, guys. So let's jump into one of my favorite beach towns, which is Pedasi, small town living Panama style. You'll see on this map that Pedasi is about 335 kilometers from Panama City. It's a beautiful drive through the mountains, through the plains, by the water. It's paved all the way and just first world infrastructure in terms of roads, bridges, etc. And while that may feel like it's far away from Panama City, figure about 3.5 hour drive, at the end of the day, when you live in Pedasi, it's kind of like having a lake house or a beach house. You're in an area where you've got towns, you've got dozens of restaurants, dozens of shops, you've got a fairly major city of Las Tablas and a major city of Chitre. Las Tablas is about 20 minutes away, Chitre is about 45 minutes away, and those drive times are getting even shorter now that they're finishing up what is, I believe, a $15 million road renovation. So when you live in a town like Pedasi, you don't really have to leave that much to get into a quote-unquote big city. This is our downtown Pedasi on the bottom right. So let's talk about lifestyle. Let's talk about your typical day and a typical weekend in Pedasi. So Ted and Jonathan, who you guys will see later on in the presentation, actually in the next slide, those are our two advisors who work out of the Pedasi office. I asked them what was going on this weekend, and they told me they've got a fishing tournament going on where they're expecting around 50 boats. Panama, actually, the word Panama means land of many fish, and Pedasi is sort of the quintessential Panama town in that the fishing's great year-round, as is the surfing, the scuba diving, the hiking, but we'll get into that a little bit later, in fact, in the next few slides here. But typical weekend, you've got craft fairs, you've got music and art going on, you've got cultural activities, and the community there is really special. It's truly embraced expats. I'm talking as cohesive as it gets, and it's just a really good feeling. You've got lots of groups that have formed, whether it's poker groups, volunteer groups, outdoor activity groups, just really everything you can imagine in terms of staying as busy or as not busy as you want, because at the end of the day, it is a small town. It's a small town, but it is just, hey, I mean, if that's your style of beach living, Pedasi is absolutely for you. So let's talk about what Pedasi is and what Pedasi is not. We've sort of talked about that already. You do get some hustle and bustle a couple times a year. Carnival, for example, is a fantastic time or a horrible time to go visit Pedasi, because Pedasi during that 1 week a year is bursting at the seams with people. It seems like Panama, all of Panama City goes into what we call the interior, which is everywhere not Panama City. And Pedasi is one of the most popular spots. So you will have parties during the day, parties during the night, parades, fireworks. Don't plan on sleeping very much, but that's not the idea during Carnival. And for the residents that are living in Pedasi because they appreciate a small town, well, they just get the heck out of Dodge. And they might rent out their house to a group for $200-300 that week. So things get interesting, and depends on what kind of house, obviously. And we're going to get into properties here in a little bit. Pedasi has grocery stores. Pedasi has a fantastic new medical clinic with English-speaking doctors. Not all of them, but there are one or two. Just recently we had some Pedasi clients report great experiences for more higher end, or I guess more urgent, what's a good word? For more profound medical treatment, I guess you could say, cardiology, urology, all that stuff. Most likely you're going to be going to either the main hospital in La Chorrera or coming into Panama City. But for emergencies, for just issues that come up, you've got a new hospital, brand new facilities, less than 5 minutes outside of the town of Pedasi. So you've got that, which is fantastic. And the people that live in Pedasi are truly like-minded individuals. It takes a type of person to move to Panama, and it takes a type of person to move to Pedasi. For example, my wife, who is from a city, the city of Panama, as a matter of fact. I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii, also a fairly big city. I love going to Pedasi and could stay there for weeks at a time. At the end of the day, I choose not to live there because I like the hustle and bustle of the city. But if you like small town living, if you like waking up late, slowly drinking a coffee, checking the news, and having a leisurely day, Pedasi's awesome for you. If you like waking up early, going for a long walk, maybe some shore casting, or catching up with the buddies to catch some waves down in Playa Venal, which is about 30 minutes away, Pedasi's a great town for you. So let's see what somebody looks like and sounds like who lives in Pedasi. Her name's Bonnie, and we love her. Bonnie is just the real typical Pedasi resident. She's going to tell her story. It's about a 2-minute video, 2.5 minutes, and here's Bonnie. Oh, let's go back. Here's Bonnie.
My name is Bonnie Muntz, and I'm from Calgary, Alberta in Canada. I was looking for somewhere where you could just have great climate year-round, other than being in the U.S. I looked at Panama. I had friends in Pedasi. They told me how great it was. Came down, looked at it. They were right. I have been coming back and forth to Pedasi for 8 years, and I've been here in this property for 3. The community, it really does still have, it's got the culture, and it's a safe community, and you have expats, but they're melding into the community. It makes it very special. I remember when I would stay at a hotel in Panama City, and they would say, "Oh, you're going to Pedasi. That's the magical place in Panama." And I believe they're right. When I came here 8 years ago, I did buy property that was oceanfront. I was hesitant whether to build or not. It was never the hotel that I wanted to stay in, so I chose to build a home. That other house now is finished. I've had 3 fabulous years in this house, but I only want one. I only need one. So I'm moving into the other house. This house has been absolutely incredible. The builder of the home has looked after it when I haven't been here. It's never been rented out. It's just been treated with kid gloves. And so when I'm not here, he was looking after it, using it as his showroom. I think just for anyone that's looking for a home that's peaceful but 2 minutes from town, loves having a backyard with no noise, serene, it's a great spot. I've loved it.
So let's talk about Bonnie's home for a second, because I think it's a great example of what you can expect to find in Pedasi. We've got a range of properties, really from $40,000 home lots up to $1 million estates. Bonnie's house would probably be, we'll call it $500,000 in, maybe even more in a place like Hawaii, maybe $400,000 in a place like Miami. I'm going to show you a little preview of our website and Bonnie's home. $224,000, guys. So this is really, again, a great example of what you can expect, and giving you a little idea about how our website works real quick since we're here. Whoops, pop-ups. Everybody hates pop-ups, but hey, there's a webinar going on. Woohoo! Bonnie's home. Look at it. $224,000. Great lot. Fantastic location. Guys, that's a nice segue in terms of where Bonnie's home is inside Pedasi. It is 2 minutes from downtown. And one thing we didn't talk about is Pedasi for families. There are more than a couple dozen families that live in Pedasi already in terms of expat families. And one great thing that we're excited about happening next year is Oxford International is going to be coming to Pedasi. So schools, excellent international schools in a small town in the beach, check Pedasi. So this is our website, just to give you a sense of what's going on. You've got somewhat similar properties down there. Those are mostly land, but this is Bonnie's home. So let's X out of there and go back to our webinar. We're not going to look at all the Pedasi properties, but that once again is a good example of what to expect. In terms of a place like that, Bonnie's home is going to be tax exonerated for another, I want to say 13 years. Don't quote me on that. You can talk to Ted Tennis and Jonathan Clay for all the exact details. She's in a homeowners association, which is most likely paying around $75 a month. She's got utility bills I would imagine are running, say, $100 a month tops. What other costs are you going to have there? Water bill, internet bill, whipping fast internet, 3, 4, 5 megabyte download for, let's call it $30 a month. Water, trash pickup, another $30 a month. So holding and living costs down here are pretty interesting in terms of what to expect. Okay, so you can visit all of our Pedasi properties on our website, but we won't go one by one right now. But we've got some amazing properties in Pedasi, which is a fantastic place to visit and place to live. And by the way, whale season is coming up here, guys. Next stop is Coronado, Panama's weekend playground. So Coronado is 90 kilometers from Panama City. Right now it takes about an hour if you leave at the right time. If you leave at the wrong time, it could take you 2.5 hours from Panama City. But locals know you don't leave for the beach at 5:30 on a Friday. All that's changing in probably about 3 years. I imagine the new road will be done. We're doing a huge expansion. We're doing a diversion road that's going to go around Veracruz and or through Chorrera. So basically the beach is going to become that much more accessible, but right now it's an easy drive. Again, well, you pass Coronado on the way out to Pedasi, but this is where everybody lives that lives in Panama City. In other words, this is our weekend getaway spot. My wife and I are going out to either Coronado, Santa Clara. We'll go up to the Caribbean sometimes, and it's just an easy shot. You wake up on a Sunday morning at 8 in the morning, you're in the water at 9, come back around 3 or 4, and there's a day. So the beach lifestyle can absolutely be yours if you live in Panama City as well. So let's talk Coronado for a bit. Coronado's got everything under the sun. You've got $1 million mansions, you've got $150,000 condos, and everything in between. It's really diverse. And when we say Coronado, we're talking about the Coronado area. You've got literally dozens of other little beach towns around Coronado. You've also got hospitals, international schools, shopping malls, fantastic golf courses, and everything in between. Coronado, full-time residents, love it out there. They're the kind of guys that probably do like to come into the city maybe a couple times a month, catch a show, do some shopping for some gourmet things. But these days, I can't think of too much that you can't get in Coronado that you can get in Panama City. Carlos, what do you think? What's one thing that people come back to Panama City for that they just can't get in Coronado?
Well, as you said, they can get pretty much everything there, but sometimes they do like to come into the city for a movie or for a weekend getaway, because it does get busy on the weekend with all the local Panamanians going out there. So they like to come to the city and spend the night and just to diversify their lifestyle.
Absolutely, to mix it up a little bit. And Carlos, that's a great point. It tends to swell up on the weekends, but that's kind of fun. You know, you're never waiting at a restaurant unless it's a holiday weekend, and then, you know, you plan accordingly. And that's also, guys, the same folks that are leaving town during Carnival and Pedasi are the guys living in Coronado that say, you know what, I don't want to deal with the Christmas crowds because everybody goes out to the beach at Christmas, so they'll come and get a cheap hotel room in the city, cheap/nice hotel room, Trump for $150 a night these days, stay for the weekend and just appreciate living close to a city but not in the city. The other nice thing about Coronado is you're kind of a hub. You've got access to mountain towns like El Valle and Chica, and you're an hour closer to a place like Boquete, which is a beautiful mountain community. That's about 5 hours. That's closer to the Panama border with Costa Rica. But again, it's a hub. It's a place to explore from. They've got an international airport about 20 minutes from Coronado. The international airport is getting mostly Canadian, what's it called? Charter flights. So you don't get a whole lot of connectivity there. But hey, your international airport's about an hour away. And again, schools, check. Hospitals, check. Movie theater, yeah, you got to drive 25 minutes, but whipping fast internet, so Netflix and everything in between. And if you like golf, you're going to love Coronado because there are, how many golf courses out there, Carlos?
In the area, I can think of at least 4.
4 golf courses. Can you just go on and play, or do you need to be a member of all of them?
In some of them, you have to be a member.
Okay.
But you have options for golf course where you can just pay for the day, tees.
And if you host enough parties and you go eating out enough and you go out to the grocery store, you're probably going to meet somebody that has a membership at a golf course, has a boat, and has an extra place for your family to come stay. Coronado's just like that, and beach community is just like that. That's the beauty of being an expat, is when you see somebody a couple times at a restaurant, you sort of get the nerve to go up and say, hey, what's your story? Where are you from? That's how friendships are made, and it's really interesting. And again, day in the life of Coronado, you've got gardening, you've got surfing, you've got golfing, you've got rock climbing, you've got boating. You've got everything that you can think of in terms of beach lifestyle. But you've also got some critical mass and some infrastructure to be able to not go to the beach. If you just like to have warm weather and even less rain, because they call Coronado the dry arc, then Coronado could be a great place for you. So let's talk Coronado versus Pedasi. I would say Pedasi properties are a bit cheaper in general in terms of price per square foot. I would say Coronado is definitely busier, a bit more robust. Pedasi is a lot more community focused though. It's a lot tighter. You see the same people and new faces in Pedasi, and you notice that. It's a smaller town. So really that's the distinction. And we've got a few other places. Oh, but let's talk properties for a second. So, Carlos, we've got 3 cool options here. Which one should we talk about?
I love that condo in Punta Barco.
Cool. That's the one on the left?
Right.
Let's check out Punta Barco. It's okay? Tech guy.
The beach is not visible in the stream, so we have to look at the pictures here.
Okay, cool, no problem. So, guys, we've got some great options here in Coronado. Carlos literally has hundreds, and I tell you what, again, this is not a sales pitch. This really is a good time to be looking. In the last 10 years, we've had some very interesting fire sales on occasion. We've got some motivated developers. Now is a good time to get your feet wet in Panama, to just get a sense of the market, maybe come down, maybe rent before you buy. And again, we're going to talk about that later on in the webinar as well. But Carlos has some fantastic inventory. He's been doing real estate for 14 years, guys. Speaks perfect English. Went to school where?
In Iowa.
Iowa.
Cedar Rapids.
Cedar Rapids in the house. So really, guys, again, Carlos is an expert. His clients absolutely love him. He's my partner, and grateful to have him on the team. So a few areas we weren't able to get to in this presentation because I can't talk about everywhere, but that's the other cool thing about living in Panama, guys, is exploring the rest of the country. So Buenaventura is flash. Buenaventura used to be a JW Marriott. Now it's branded Buenaventura. Beautiful beach club, incredible 18-hole Jack Nicklaus golf course. Fine dining, and just really the bee's knees in terms of luxury. Opening price point to get into a condo out there. What are you looking at, Carlos?
Well, in new construction, you can get a 1-bedroom at around $265,000.
That's the Marina project, right?
Correct.
And then it jumps up to...
Then in the resale market, your price point will start at around 390.
Okay. Yeah, and that's Buenaventura. That's not Coronado, but again, that's Flash. Playa Bonita is another lovely area. That's right across the bridge, guys. Playa Bonita is like a neighborhood beach from Panama City, and it's nice. It's not Buenaventura in terms of the beach itself, but the beach is great. And by the way, you've got tons of pools out there. It's, at the end of the day, people that live in Playa Bonita are folks that appreciate being close to the city, because it is literally right on the other side of Panama City, so it's close. And you've got multiple hotels out there, so you've got a beach community there. And then you get into also Playa Venal, which is lovely. Playa Venal is about 30 minutes south of Pedasi, so that's a surf beach that is total kind of backpacker, bohemian style. Just really, they have concerts down there. They have beachfront dining. It's a real cool scene, and there's absolutely a beach community there. We've sold quite a few properties in Venal, and it's a nice alternative to Pedasi, and it's a nice place to have both Pedasi in your back pocket, and for folks that live in Venal to have Pedasi in your back pocket up there, if that makes sense. We haven't even talked about areas that my company doesn't cover, but that are amazing to go visit, like San Blas, for example. And I'm going to show you a little video with places of San Blas, Bocas del Toro, the Pearl Islands, and just some really magical places that aren't necessarily full-time residence places, although Bocas del Toro, absolutely. We just don't handle anything up there, not for any particular reason. But yeah. So let's talk about Panama City for a second, because I would say that Panama City is our country's competitive advantage. When you're comparing a place like Belize, Mexico, Costa Rica, or even Ecuador that has similar costs of living, similar beaches, beach towns, similar climate, what really tips the scales, guys, is Panama City, which is where I've lived for 11 years and where I absolutely love to come home to. It is full of fantastic restaurants, from cheap to fine dining, Vietnamese, Indian, Colombian, Italian, name it all. Food options are limitless. Healthcare is first world and affordable. Schools are world class. In fact, when I was presenting over in China, that was our most popular marketing piece, was the graduation rate or acceptance rate of U.S. colleges from the International School of Panama, which is one of the nicest schools in Panama, and that'll cost you about $12,000 a year. But we're talking top-notch facilities, top-notch teachers, top-notch graduation levels and education. We've got some great schools in the beach towns as well. And yeah, so that's what makes Panama City interesting. We've got an amazing historic section called Casco Viejo, which is in the top right corner. Rana Dorada, craft beer scenes, the Cinta Costera, which I'm overlooking right now, which is a waterfront beltway. It really is a great place to call home. And again, great place to keep in your back pocket. If you live out at the beach, you got the city. When you're coming to pick people up, most likely from the international airport, which has crazy connections, hundreds of nonstop flights to Europe, a couple nonstop flights to Asia now, hundreds and hundreds of nonstop flights direct from cities like Houston, Miami, Atlanta, New York, LA, Chicago, Las Vegas, Toronto, possibly Vancouver, I believe. I'm not sure if we've got a Vancouver direct yet. But again, you will find yourself in Panama City, and you might hate it because it's a city and you decided to live out at the beach. But at the end of the day, it's nice to have this asset in your back pocket. Okay, so I'm saving the kind of boring stuff for the end, but let's talk immigrations and visas. Panama is an easy country to immigrate to. We've got a Friendly Nations visa. Any idea how many countries on the Friendly Nation visa these days?
I'm not sure.
Lots.
Quite
a few. Less than 100, but more than 50 countries. USA, Canada, lots of European countries. You apply a Friendly Nations visa. I can talk to you guys about the specifics costs you anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 with a lawyer. You got to put a little bit of money in the bank. I think it's, I don't know, is it like $5,000? $5,000 in the bank as well. You got to set up a corporation, and that's it. And then you can apply for a work permit. Bada bing, bada boom, you're Panamanian. So, excuse me, that is just one way to get a permanent residency in Panama. And eventually, you can get a Panamanian passport. I am about, I think, a couple weeks away from getting my Panamanian passport. I'm already the biggest Panama soccer fan in the country. But yeah, so visas to come visit, super easy. You can even stay on a tourist visa these days. I believe it's 180 days.
3 months. Well, depending on your nationality as well.
Okay, yeah. So it's 90 to 180 days. Then you got to leave for a bit and come back. Friendly Nations is the way to go. It's gotten a little bit tighter in terms of staying in Panama as a tourist for like years. You used to be able to leave for 3 days. I think now you actually have to leave for a month. So they kind of want you to start that process, but it's super easy. And again, the Panamanian people, respect to Carlos Camaño and the other 4 million Panamanians, or we'll call it 3.5, because there's probably at least 500,000 foreigners living here. The demographic is in, I think, order of number of people. Probably there's more Colombians than anyone. I mean, there's more Panamanians, obviously, but of the 500,000, there's probably, I don't know, a couple 100,000 Colombians, followed by a couple 100,000 Venezuelans. And then you've got people from all over the world. And the Panamanians are the least judgmental people you will ever run into. You could be a 8-foot tall albino. You could be a 3-foot tall, two-headed. Well, yeah, two-headed you might get some looks. But again, Panamanians are so accepting and just almost nonchalant. It's almost not even fun being a foreigner because it's not as exotic, but it is. It is being fun as a foreigner because you get the benefit of the doubt. If you do something stupid, they sort of laugh it off. It's not like another country where it's like, what are you doing here? So again, great country to live as a foreigner. Logistics. So Panama City is about 3 hours from Miami. Panama City is about, to fly to Europe, that's a long flight. I'd say about 10 hours, but we've got more and more direct flights. They're talking about a Heathrow direct flight now. But the logistics, again, in most cases, you don't even need to apply for a visa to come here for 90 days. You just walk right in. So the logistics are really quite easy. And again, guys, 3 hours from Miami. We are close. We are close to the United States, close to Canada. So rent versus buy, that's always an interesting question to ask. I think the prudent thing is to definitely come down here and sniff around first. I think on your first trip, you're going to want to go out of your way to figure out why Panama's not going to work for you, because I promise you're going to fall in love. And it's the right way to go about approaching it is trying to find some expats and asking them what they miss about their home country, what they found out about Panama after living here for a couple of years that they don't like. Maybe try to find some people who left Panama. But it's funny when you're living down here and you go back, quote unquote, home to go visit family or whomever for a week or two, you start to miss Panama. And it's a really cool feeling when you come back. You feel like you're home. But rent versus buy is a financial decision at the end of the day. Rentals, for example, and this is a nice segue into yields, but let's say in Coronado, as a pure investor, I think buying in the city is probably a little bit more interesting than buying out at the beach. Buying out at the beach is for the people that are looking to eventually retire out there, get some cash flow, build some equity, pay off all your expenses, and then come down here and live full time. We have hundreds of customers who have done that in the beaches areas. Now, if you're just a pure investor, you like Panama, but you're never going to really spend much time down here, the city's a bit more interesting from a yield perspective. Most of our investor clients are making about a net 4% at the end of the day. That's after property management, homeowner association fees, vacancies, realtor commissions, etc. About 4%. You could probably do, let's say, 3 to maybe 4% out at the beaches area, but that could be a bit more seasonal. You can do Airbnb out at the beach. It's illegal in Panama City for under 45 days. You didn't hear it from me, but you could probably find a couple hundred Airbnb listings in Panama City, but that's not something that we necessarily encourage our clients to do because, it's not legal. So anyway, rent versus buy, you can absolutely segue into a vacation rental, and if you like what you see, you end up pulling the trigger, and I know a couple good real estate agents if you need one. So plan the perfect trip. I referenced that a little bit earlier, which is come down here. I think 7 days is a great amount of time to come visit. That'll give a little flavor for the city, and that'll also allow you to drive out to Pedasi, which again, 3.5, maybe 4 hours if you want to stop a couple times on the way. There's some beautiful scenic views. It's literally, let's see, one turn. Yeah, I think it's one turn after you merge at Divisa. Yeah, we'll call it 2 turns. 2 turns from Panama City to Pedasi. So about as straight shot as you can get. But again, 7 days is a great amount of time to get a flavor for Panama. Obviously, if you can stay longer, fantastic. And here is another little video to wet your whistle on some other beach areas that we haven't talked about. Because what I mentioned earlier, one of the best things about Panama is exploring the country. You can stay in cheap hotels. You can travel at as luxury as you wanted or as budget as you wanted. Here are a couple places that you might like to visit when you come down. You can see at the bottom where the places are.
Coronado's Coquelay, right? Yeah.
That's right around Coronado, guys. Coquelay, that's the province. Whale watching season is coming up. Colón is our Caribbean coast. Colón. Turn up the volume, guys. Hey, and if you like what you see, please like and share, guys. "45 minutes from Pedasi, Herrera. Los Santos, that's Pedasi. Oh! Panama City, Casco Viejo. Panamanians like to party. For anyone that watched the World Cup, how we celebrated every single loss. Panama City. Cool video, huh? Guys, that's it. We're going to do questions and answers. I know that there are a few things I did not mention. We can talk mortgages. Well, yeah, I've got some preloaded questions. And then maybe if... Max, can you go see if we've got any cool ones on the Facebook? Because I haven't been watching that. That's the end of our presentation in terms of the... Oh, and actually, let's turn on the camera here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Got our tech help from Web Expertos, the best digital marketing company out there. Here I am. Hello. Carlos, come over here.
Hi, guys.
Max, get in here too. All right. So, questions and answers, guys. So, mortgages. That's one thing we didn't talk about. Mortgages can absolutely be obtained in Panama, mostly for existing properties and new construction. You can get mortgages on land as well, but that's not as easy. The mortgage process is cumbersome, but certainly doable. The rates are not incredibly attractive, 6.5% over 20 years, variable. So you don't have fixed rates here in Panama. But again, we've got some great banking resources for you in terms of helping get financing for foreigners. And in fact, one of our banking partners, Scotiabank here, has just given us the ability to give, not approval, but asked us to confirm the fact that they can give loans on 2 different properties for pure investment non-residents. In other words, you can get leverage on investment properties without even living in Panama, which is kind of cool. Other questions? Let's see. So again, we talked about the internet. We've got really good internet infrastructure out here, almost in the entire country, cell phone coverage. We've got a lot of digital nomads living and working in Panama, coming and going, calling it their home base, their permanent residency. Let's see, tax exonerations. That's another thing we didn't talk about per se. That's more of an individual property function. In other words, how old the property is. But you also get some great breaks as a retiree, as a jubilado they call it, or a pensionado. Carlos, you know what those? I mean, you get discounts on the restaurants, you get discounts on airfare, you get discounts on your power bill,
entertainment,
movies, transportation, like rental cars and stuff.
Air flights.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got that in Panama as well, which is fantastic. Let's see, other questions. Really, that's it.
Sorry to jump in.
Jump in.
Yeah, the good news about property taxes that start in January of next year, the taxes are only going to be 0.5%
Awesome, thank you.
on the registered value of the property if it's your main residence in Panama. So that is changing it's a big advantage for the industry. In fact, we've had buyers who've come from the past because of this new tax initiative. So another reason why consider Panama today.
Yes, absolutely, Carlos. Okay, so a couple good questions here. In terms of mortgage, typical down payments are anywhere from 20 to 40% depending on the property you're buying. Banks tend to base it on a price per square meter. And so that's about an expected down payment. If you're buying pre-construction, which is really interesting way to buy. So let's talk about that for 1 second. Let's say you've got a beach condo that's not going to be ready for 3 years. You can pay that off in stages. Typically, the developer will be looking for about 30% during the course of construction. So that means you come down here, you like something that you see, you can buy it, expect some appreciation over those next 3 to 4 years, assuming you buy well in the right place, etc., etc. And basically purchase it over those 3 years, 30% down, and then you can either get developer financing or traditional bank financing in 3 years, or you can resell. So can you play golf in Panama City? Absolutely. We've got Summit, which is a public course. We've got the course out at Santa Maria, which is private and super awesome. Let me know. We can get you a tee time. Toucan, which is right outside the city. So yeah, Panama City's fantastic for golf. And by the way, Panama City's right on the water too. So not necessarily beach lifestyle per se, but ocean all day long. So why is sometimes the sand black and white? So yeah, I tell you what, Dominican Republic has us beat in terms of white sand. I'm from Hawaii. Okay, yeah, we got some nice beaches out there too. So Panama, I think, has volcanic sand. Panama has organic sand, which can be brown or green. Panama has black sand, which is volcanic. And Panama absolutely has some white sand beaches as well. Now, places like Coronado, not really white sand. It's more kind of I don't know, how would you describe it?
Yeah, volcanic color.
Yeah, we'll call it salt and pepper. It's mixed. Pedasi, again, you get some white sand. I mean, Isla Iguana is white, amazing sand, and that's a 10-minute boat ride and an awesome weekend trip for Pedasi. So yeah, and the Pearls, places in Boca's white sand. So yeah, that's the angle there. There's some questions. Medical coverage for insurance. Gosh, I mean, awesome facilities. I'm 38 years old. I've got 2 kids. I got a little guy, 1.5, and a big guy, 5.5, and a wife whose public age is 27. I pay $250 a month, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I'm very happy. I mean, we've had consistent good experiences at Hospital Nacional. Literally one of the best institutions I've ever been exposed to in my entire life. I've said it on Facebook before because I go out of my way to thank those people, like the guys that are cleaning the floors all the way up to the guys taking the money, and the doctors has been exceptional. But again, family of 2, or family of 4, I guess you could say, about $250. My copay is very low. The facilities are top notch. Is Verizon down here? No, I don't think so. We don't have Verizon down here, but we do have excellent mobile services. We've got Digicel, Claro, Movistar, and another one. I think I pay $40 a month for tons more data than I can use and more minutes than I can use. And as you can tell by this webinar, I'm a talker. I don't like to talk this much. How safe are pre-construction investments? Great question. The key is do your homework and get a good team, including a good real estate agent who can ask the right questions of the developer. Tell me what else you've done. Tell me about pre-construction sales so far. Tell me who's financing your project. Tell me what's going up right in front of your project. There's a lot of questions that you need to answer to do your due diligence, but we've had very, very few. For the 11 years that I've been here, I've seen 3 projects that didn't start. And all 3 of those projects gave their money back. So really, it's not as much a function of risk of if the project will happen, but sometimes they kind of limp along, so you got to be thoughtful about pre-construction. Questions are coming in, I love it. Oh boy, jungle area near the city. So you do have some, Gamboa, fantastic. Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute, Gamboa. Gamboa is about a 25-minute drive from Panama City, and jungle, really cool. We go out there a couple times a year. They've got a nice hotel there. You could do monkey watching, kayaking.
Fishing on the lake.
Awesome fishing, peacock bass. I mean, you'll come back with. Certain days, we've gone fishing. Certain days, you can come back with trash bags, grocery bags full of peacock bass, which are fun fighting and good eating. Rent a boat for $80, fully equipped. 50-cent beers that you bring with you. Makes for a fun day. Why no MLS listings? We do have MLS, but it's just not as robust. The question is, why are there no MLS listings? Our company is on the MLS, but the MLS in cities like Chicago, Miami, Alberta, wherever, they have a truly functional MLS. It's 98% of the listings. Here, it's probably about 10% of the listings. It's coming along. We're hoping it gets there, but it's not there yet. But there is an MLS. I'm happy to, share the link. And at the end of the day, again, it's not as robust as it needs to be. Is there any scuba diving? There's great scuba diving. Obviously, it always depends on visibility. The question is there any scuba diving? And there is. The Caribbean is generally the best spot for scuba diving, and it's hit or miss, like any place, I guess. Bocas is fantastic. Even like Colón area, Colón province, you can do some great scuba diving. But Bocas is great. Oh, and by the way, Santa Catalina, which is about 3.5 hours from Panama City, world class. Protected, awesome reefs. Thank you. Whale sharks. I've been out there and it is awesome. So yeah, we've got some great scuba diving. Next question. Crypto, yeah, absolutely. We've got, the question is, can you pay for existing homes in crypto? And yeah, we've done a few crypto deals recently. We've got a broker who can facilitate those. I'm not as hip on crypto as I could be, but my salesmen are telling me that, yeah, we are doing some deals using various cryptocurrencies. I think most of them have been Bitcoin, and we'll see Bitcoin's a bit all over the board right now. But yeah, again, I'm not an expert on that, but we've definitely done crypto deals in Panama. And Panama is slowly embracing fintech, which could be really interesting from a long-term perspective. I know there are a lot of crypto holders out there. And yeah, I mean, Panama with banking, logistics, etc., things get interesting if we get on their map. Safety in Coronado. So yeah, that's a very good question. In general, very safe. Panama as a country is very safe. You don't hear about, the thing is, here's the real answer. You do hear about home invasions. You do hear about robberies. But the fact that they make the news, to me, says something. To me, says they don't happen that often, and it's like, oh my gosh, look what just happened. But they do happen. You do have break-ins for people that leave their house empty for 3-4 months at a time, which is why we encourage our clients who are really travelers to just get a condo, lock it, and leave it. My wife walks Panama City grocery store run. Usually I have to do the grocery store run at 10 o'clock at night, but she's done it before if I'm not at home. And it's a very safe city. Coronado is a very safe community, and Pedasi is exceptionally safe. But I would be not telling you the truth if I didn't say that crime does exist, but we see it a lot less compared to places like Belize, places even like Costa Rica. I've heard it happen a bit more, especially the petty crimes, like the random robberies on the street. We don't really get that. Panamanians are very pacifico. They're very peaceful in general. But again, you always have, especially in a big city, keep your eyes open, don't be silly, but it is very safe. Is there a marina near Panama City? Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of marinas. Amador, what's it called out there? Balboa Yacht Club. Decent marina. Actually, not awesome. Ocean Reef is going to have a super fancy marina. That's like multi-million-dollar properties out on Ocean Reef, and that's right in the middle of Panama City. Good job, Andrea Cooper, for selling one of the penthouses out there a couple weeks ago, $3.5 million to some lovely Canadian clients. So yeah, no, we do have some marinas out in the city. We've got marinas, and we've got some really nice brand new marinas outside of the city. Oh, and hey, Linton Bay, shout out to Roz Bytel and Alan Bytel doing a beautiful marina in the Caribbean side, about an hour and 15 minutes drive. Reminds me a lot of Hawaii on the way out there, just really special. If you're a marina developer, we could probably use one in Pedasi. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But we don't have one there. But yeah, Linton Bay, fantastic. That's on the Caribbean side. Can I use your Citibank U.S. account in Panama? Probably not. Citibank just got bought out by Scotiabank, so I don't know what the logistics of that. The question is, can I use my Citibank account in Panama? I mean, listen, you come down here, you can make withdrawals. We're on the dollar. So you use your regular ATM, you're going to get hit with a foreign ATM fee. But when you use your Visa card, you do not get charged a foreign transaction because we're still in the dollar, which is what makes Panama awesome. And what also makes Panama interesting from a real estate perspective, because watch, the dollar's been really high for like the last 6 years. So that's keeping some Canadians out, keeping some Brazilians out, keeping some Colombians and Europeans out. If the dollar starts going down, those guys start coming back. Real estate prices go on a bit of a tear. So, we are a bit of a hedge in terms of dollar-based assets, but not necessarily U.S. jurisdictions. You've got those two factors going for you. I've got a couple more questions here, guys. I don't want to ramble on and on because I could do it. Let's see. Typical interest rates for deposits accounts in banks. They're getting interesting, like 3 to 4% for a 5-year deposit. 3 to 4% for a 5-year deposit. That's actually beating property yields right now. So, it is interesting to look at bank deposits. The banks are very stable. We've had maybe like 2 bank closings in the last 10 years, and it's mostly because it has nothing to do with Panama and sort of solvency. And I make every intention to respond to all the questions we're getting on the webinar via email, Facebook, etc. I just had a question. Free medical for people over 65 years old. As a matter of fact, I think Panama is going to start instituting our free insurance coverage for tourists again. It was going for a couple years. They might have even started again. I should know this, but I don't. But no, you don't have free medical coverage for people over 65. maybe you're referring to the jubilado discounts and the pensionado discounts, so the retiree discounts. You absolutely get breaks on so many things. What else? Yeah, typical interest rates. Yep, I talked about that. Okay, that's it, guys. Please give me a couple likes if you don't mind. Share if you don't mind. Thank you very much for coming. Sorry for the weird camera angle. And hey, can I do a little spin around? Yeah, let's do a spin around. I want you to see Panama City and a little flavor. There's old Max from Holland. Here we go. Hey, don't get busy. Look at that. Look at that city, you guys. World-class city. There's the ocean. There I am. Hello. We'll go like that. Oh gosh, I think I just did something bad. Okay, thank you very much. God bless, guys.